5 years ago, I packed 6 suitcases and moved to New Zealand to live here alone. I have bought a house in New Zealand. I'm looking to buy another house. I'm loving my job. I'm loving my life. I would not take it back in any way. I want to tell you all about my journey from start to finish, if I needed a visa, culture shocks, and how I found somewhere to live, and just in general, how this took a toll on me emotionally. First things first, why did I choose New Zealand? I chose New Zealand because, fun fact, I am half Samoan, so I have family here. My mom is Samoan and my dad is African American. So that is my background. I have grown up visiting New Zealand my whole life just to see my mom's side of the family. So I was kind of familiar with New Zealand, but not Auckland. I used to visit Christchurch a lot because that's where my family is, but we would just pass through Auckland. Never growing up did I ever think I was going to move here. Never did it ever cross my mind that I would move to New Zealand just because the lifestyle and everything is so different. And I'll get into that later. What made me decide to finally take the plunge and move here? When I was 19, I was in university and I was studying at Berklee College of Music, and I was doing one of those degrees where it was like make your own degree. And I was choosing a lot of courses that had to do with marketing and communications, but in the music industry. And I had reached a point where I had taken all the courses that I was interested in, and I knew that I had needed to shift into a different degree, probably in marketing or communications in some sort, rather than at Berklee, who had a limited amount of resources for that. So I started looking at universities in the States and universities in New Zealand. So I kind of knew I didn't want to live at Christchurch because for me it was just too small. But I was looking in Auckland, and I was choosing between Auckland University and AUT. The big incentive about moving to New Zealand at this point is that Jacinda had just approved that students could get their first year free, and also that I could finish my degree within 3 years rather than having to do the full 4 years. Because I had already done a year at Berklee College of Music, I kind of wanted to finish a degree as soon as possible. So that was a big incentive to at least look into New Zealand. So me and my mom, we flew to the open day at AUT and went to Auckland Uni because those were the two I was looking into. No shade to Auckland Uni, but to me it was giving really high school, really cliquey, just wasn't really my vibe. But when I went to AUT, I fell in love. Everyone there was so nice. The people that I talked to, like the ambassadors and students that I did talk to, they talked about a lot of diversity and international students, and that's kind of what I was nervous about moving to New Zealand is there going to be any diversity? Who am I going to relate to when I move here? And that kind of eased my mind and got me to a point where I actually could see myself moving, because before that I was like, oh, I'll go check it out, but I don't know if I'm actually going to move there. And that's kind of what my mindset was. But when I actually flew here and like got to meet some people and tour the university, I started to then change my mindset of, wow, maybe I could move here. So after my visit, I had decided I'm moving here. I got this impression from, I want to say, Heavenly Father, that this was where I was meant to be. That kind of pushed me off over the edge. I was like, this is what I need. Everything's lining up. It's cheaper. It's faster. There was just no cons to me. So I was like, let's do it. After that trip, I was like, yes, I'm moving, which is honestly crazy looking back. Okay, everyone asked me about the visa process. For me, because my mom is a New Zealander, I was able to get citizenship through her before I turned 16. So I've had dual citizenship since I was 16, and so I didn't have to go through that whole process. Unfortunately, I can't really give you any insight into the process of getting a visa. I have heard from friends that it is kind of a long process, but you'll have to do your own research when it comes to the visa applications and that kind of stuff, because I have a citizenship. Okay, how did I find somewhere to live? That was really hard. Me and my mom were trying to figure out where am I gonna live, because I wanted to sort that out before we came here. So if you are wanting to move to New Zealand and you want to figure out where you're gonna live, for me, what was easiest was just to stay at the AUT campus. So that's what I did for the first 3 months. And then once I lived here in New Zealand, I could kind of suss out what areas were nice areas and then move to where I wanted to be. So when I first moved here, I was living in North Shore. And then I moved to the city for a little bit. It was okay, moved back to North Shore and was there for a couple years. Now I'm like Northwest. Do your research on different areas, but like easiest transition was for me to just stay at the AUT uni accommodations. Those were quite expensive though, because they have security and they have amenities that you wouldn't normally get if you were just flatting. I only did that for one semester and then I moved out. I'm gonna go into what it was like moving here and living alone for the first time, because before this I was living with my parents, and so it's kind of a big jump from living with your parents to living in a whole new country alone. So luckily my parents were able to come and help me move. My parents each had 2 checked luggage and I just packed my stuff into theirs. So I had my own 2 checked luggage. They had 2, so it was 6 total. They were able to help me move like a lot of my stuff, which was really nice. And then they helped me move into my flat. It just got me sorted. But it was honestly so sad to just say bye to them when they left. To be honest, like emotionally, it was a really big change for me. I just remember like locking my door just because it would make me feel a little bit safer than it just gave me some control. Not that it was dangerous or anything, it just made me feel safe. I had really good flatmates at the time, so that kind of helped me transition. It did take a while for me to just adjust. Keep in mind, this is 2020 that I moved, so I was only living normal life for about a month, and then after that we went into lockdown. And that was like a whole other thing that I can go into for you in a whole another video because it's a long story. But your girl was going through it. It was hard to move here alone. I'm not gonna say it was easy. COVID happening during this whole move was really hard for my mental health. Let's quickly talk about culture shocks about moving here. It's hard to kind of remember what kind of shocked me when I first moved here because I've been here for 5 years, but just from the top of my head, it took me a little bit to adjust to people's accents. I couldn't understand what people were saying to me for a little bit. Just finding my people I found was really hard when I first moved here. I think it's a combination of COVID and just like being online for uni. Find that just finding friends in Auckland was hard because a lot of people in New Zealand kind of stick to whoever they grew up with. So if they went to high school here, then they're most likely gonna still be friends with their high school friends. So in that way, it was hard to find people that were looking for friends. Advice I would give to someone if you are looking for friends, look for other people who are not from New Zealand. They're looking for friends. Or people who are not from Auckland, they are also looking for friends. Any community that you can join. I found a lot of my friends at church, or just join some type of community, and that's a great way to meet new people here. You have to be very proactive if you want to find friends here in Auckland, I'd say. You will experience a lot more culture shock than you think you will because this is a different country. Although everyone speaks English, they have a different sense of humor, they have different experiences, they will react to things differently. But once you adjust, it is gorgeous. The people are so friendly. Highly recommend moving to New Zealand. I do want to talk about the cost of living here. It is quite high. So food is expensive here. Fresh fruits, like meat. I've considered going vegan whenever I was a student just because of how expensive just raw chicken is. So that is something you need to think about. Rent, there is rental caps. So I think that rent, you can find a decent flat for a good amount of money. In Auckland, it depends on the area, but usually it's from $2 to $250 per week. And if you want like a nicer place, it can be up to $3 to $350, depending if you want a ensuite or different things and how many people are living in the house. Cost of living, I would say, is higher. So that is something to consider if you are thinking of moving here. I also want to touch on the job market in Auckland. Currently in 2025, when I'm filming this, it is really competitive. When I first moved here, I found it hard to even find a part-time cafe job. Like any job was really hard to find. I worked at Eden Park as a casual there, and I also worked as an extra, like that kind of stuff, but it wasn't making that much money. It was just to get some income in. Eventually I started doing freelancing, social media freelancing, and that's how I started getting a consistent full-time income. And then from there, getting clients in New Zealand, and was able to get my New Zealand experience to then get a corporate job and get to where I am now. But that is a hurdle that if you're not from New Zealand, you will experience. A lot of New Zealand employers only look and consider New Zealand experience. How this has changed me. I definitely feel a lot more capable, confident. I am more independent. I know that I can figure things out. It is possible to grow your life here as someone who hasn't grown up here. Let me know if you guys want more videos about my life here in New Zealand. I will see you guys later. Bye.